said, we're starting a new series, and it is called Hero Maker. So as we begin today, I want to start with a quiz to see your knowledge. In your Los Angeles, so you need to be representing here, your knowledge of superheroes. So I'm going to say the person's name, who they are, and then you're going to call out who this superhero really is. And we're going to start off easy. Are you ready? Peter Parker. Some of you were even hesitant on that. Are you really? Okay, because that was easy. Here's another easy one. Clark Kent. Okay. T'Challa. Somebody said Batman. No. T'Challa. There we go. Thank you. I heard. Okay, points to the front row. Dr. Bruce Banner. The Hulk. Somebody cried out. Mark Randolph. The Green Man. Do you know Diana Prince? Wonder Woman. All right. And my favorite, Benjamin Krupp. Captain Underpants. Come on. Right? So most people in our world, doesn't matter what culture, loves superheroes, right? They save the day, and we champion them. And it's not just superheroes. We love heroes. You know, the one who wins or the one who conquers, whatever that is. It's human nature that in us, that it's like, you know, we want to score the home run, or if we have, you know, a post, we want to have the most likes, or be that, I don't know, it's you, I always wanted to be, you know, when you're a kid, you're that one who wants to be at the bottom of the ninth, score is tied, 2 outs, bases are loaded, and you get to be the one, crack, and knock a grand slam, or hit the clutch shot, or make that really important shot. There's something kind of in most people where you want to be the guy or the gal that did that. I remember I had an opportunity when I played basketball in high school. And I know some of you are looking at me like at the park or something. Where I get that, but no, I did. I played basketball in high school. I was a guard. And one game, we were going up against a rival, big school, and it was their homecoming. And so the gym, it was a big gym, it was packed, right? And we were down by about 12 or 13 at halftime, which if you're a Warriors fan, you know you're not troubled by that, right? So we go into the locker room, and our coach is talking to us, and he says, and this is a true story too, by the way, not that the rest of mine, you have to wonder if they're true, but you might not think this is true. So we're in the locker room, and he's talking to us. He goes, all right, guys, look, we got to take away their momentum. We have to take away their momentum. And so we need to come out and just dominate right from the tip-off. And so you get the ball, you shoot it. We need score on that board immediately. Don't go into play. Just get score on that board immediately. Be aggressive. And so I'm jacked up. I'm all ready and get out there. And our centers are in the middle, and they go up and tip the ball, and the ball gets tipped, and it comes to me. I'm like, moment on. Here we are. Bam! And I took off immediately. Get up. Turn around. 360. Under the leg. Over. Bam! No, I didn't do that. That part was a lie. Of course. I couldn't even jump and touch the net, let alone the rim. But I do. I race down, come up, layup, bam! I'm like, yeah! And I turn around, and I'm looking at it. One of my teammates is looking at me, and he's like, and I'm like, yeah, what's up? Yeah! And he's like, look. And you got it, right? I shot it in the wrong basket. I went down and shot it in the wrong basket. There was like 2-3 seconds of silence, and then the gymnasium just erupted in laughter. I still need some work on this area in my life. That's pretty much sums up my attempts at heroism over the years. It ended up something like that. But this is not a series about becoming a hero. This is a series about becoming a hero maker. Nobody is born a hero. Heroes are made. What I mean by that is that somebody poured into them, somebody saw something in them, somebody brought something out, invested in them, cultivated them, and brought it out. We know that Marvel franchise right now has just released their second 22nd film, right, of this multi-character saga called Marvels. And in this time, it has grossed over $21 billion. $21 billion, and they still have 9 more that are in the making right now, that are in the works. They know that we as people have something inside of us that love the hero. And so I want to start out today. This is a little video, just a short video, but it really puts the title Hero Maker in context. And it's spoken, the guy who's speaking here is a man who has made his living by bringing heroes' stories to life. And so it's addressed to, we were as staff and we went and watched this at a conference. So it's addressed, and he's speaking primarily to pastors because that's the context he's in. But the truth applies whether you're a pastor or not. So let's check this out, then I'll come back up.
Kruger. I create heroes for a living. I was the former creative director of Marvel Comics. I write every single day, and I create superheroes for DC, for Marvel, for Dark Horse, for Image. I've seen ideas that I've worked on, in movie theaters and film. I pretty much live, eat, and breathe heroes every single day. My dad, who had a garage, would take me on tow jobs when I was 5, 6 years old, and he would to pay me for helping him and holding a rag while he did the actual work, he would buy me a comic book or two. So even comics from a very young age, it was, there's a nostalgic element, there's a wow, father, in the midst of it, that was really powerful. So at that young age, I became clearly some sort of storyteller, but I never even anticipated what I could become. So I started studying advertising, and I went into advertising in Wisconsin. It didn't go very well because I kept on using humor in these ads, and it's a very serious business. But anyhow, I wrote a bunch of ads for myself and started sending them to Marvel because I knew their comics, I knew their business, and I knew that I could help them sell in an advertising sense. And it was there that I began to meet people, and I was encouraged to even begin trying to write stories and that kind of thing. So some of the non-negotiables of creating a hero, and everyone has their own way, but for me, if I'm going to create a hero, they didn't start as a hero. Because almost the tyranny of story is that if a person is going to be a hero at the end, they can't begin that way at the beginning. And the hero's journey begins in really oftentimes broken places and kind of lost places, and so often that hero maker is the one that finds the person who is lost and who is able to walk them through whatever tragedy they face so that they can ultimately, become what they can become. You can't have a hero journey without the hero maker. You really can't. The whole idea of a hero maker is that person who, it's wrong to call them an assistant, because ultimately they're there in every single element of the story, of that hero's story. Like, when we think about Alfred and Batman, Alfred is someone who knows how to tend to wounds. Alfred is someone who has seen combat himself. Alfred is someone who takes the chaos, the raw chaos that is the pain in Batman's life, and Alfred helps it be honed into the character who can ultimately save Gotham. A lot of pastors want to be Batman, and look, let's be honest, if you have a choice between being Batman and Alfred, who doesn't want to be Batman? The point is that I think a pastor is supposed to be Alfred, not Batman. I really do, because Batman's purpose is to go out there. He's supposed to go and stop crime and save people, and he is out in the city all the time. He's in the businesses, he's in the community, he's always out there. I need an Alfred there who's going to help me remember that the things I give myself to, if I give myself to them too much, I'm going to be destroyed by those things. Because all the things that can grab us are the things that will destroy us if, God is not where he belongs in that life. What's really interesting is a lot of the villains that I've written in the past, they began as heroes. They began as good guys, they began as really powerful men or really powerful women, and they've been on the track of how do I help people, and then somehow along the track it gets turned inward. It's like there's this danger of helping people that ultimately kind of goes back to your ego. And so I've watched over and over again heroes become villains in the midst of this, and I think that that's a real danger too, but it's probably not a danger to a hero maker. Now, if I was having conversation with a pastor, I would encourage him with the fact that, there once was one Spider-Man comic book that came out every other month, and then it came out every month, and then there was Spider-Man and a Spider-Man team-up, and then there was Spider-Man team-up, Peter Parker the Spectacular Spider-Man, and things began to expand, and then other heroes that were introduced in Spider-Man would get their books, and then heroes introduced in their books, and those books would get more books, and all of a sudden you had this living, breathing Marvel universe where all these characters were interacting, and it was amazing. What I would say to a pastor is that it's more heroic to be a hero maker than a hero, because ultimately what you are in the process of is you are making a universe of courageous beings who defy the status quo that we're all stuck in every day.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and you may not look at yourself as a pastor, but at least around here, we believe that every member is a minister. Every follower of Christ is a minister, and we're called to bring out the best in other people. And it would be my guess, really, that as you look at your life in the areas where you have achieved something, where you've been successful, where you've accomplished, there were hero makers in your life. That there was somebody or something that called you out, that blessed you, that introduced you to their network, that helped you grow in your skill set. Whatever it is, that there were people in your lives that did that they were hero makers for you. So what I'm hoping today is that we would really think about, for the next few minutes, this question, and it's our big idea, and that is this. You can look at it on your outline. How will you use your power? How will you use your power? Your influence, your opportunities, your authority that you have. How will you use it? Less than 24 hours before Jesus was crucified, he stood before Pontius Pilate. And Pontius Pilate was a high-ranking official. He was the governor of Judea, and so he had a lot of authority. And he's standing there with this Jesus. He's conflicted inside about what to do with Jesus. And he says to Jesus, pretty much, he goes, look, I have the power here. I can either let you go or I can turn you over to be executed. I have the power. And Jesus responds to him, and he says this to him. John 19, verse 11, Jesus answered. He said, you would have no authority over me at all if it had not been given to you from above. And so for this reason, the sin and the guilt of the one who handed me over to you is greater than your own. He's saying, Pilate, your authority, your power has been entrusted to you. And, by the way, it's temporary. It's not something that is yours forever. God has given it to you. Here's the question, what are you going to do with it? And so what Jesus is saying, and what you see throughout Scripture too, and just life, is that the issue of power, all power really is about stewardship. What do we do with the power that we have? It's given to you. It's given to me. For a brief moment, our power changes. The stages of it change. The areas of influence change over a lifetime. But we have to choose whether we're going to use that power that we have for good or for bad. And I can hear some people saying, I ain't got no power. I have no power. I don't know what the heck you're talking about. We do. We just don't recognize it a lot of times. Think about the different areas where people have power. There's political power. We have people in our church that exercise political power at a city level, state level, some even at a national level, that they have power. There's people who have a social power. You're an influencer. Maybe it's because you've got 1 million followers or a lot of followers. Or maybe you're just that type of person that people look to in the words you speak and say, it has influence on other people. There's people who have, if you have children, you have parental power. You have a certain amount of authority over their lives until 13. It's gone. There's people who have marital power. And it shouldn't be that way. But in some marriages, there tends to be the one who might be a little bit more dominant than the other person. There's certain power there. There's people who have organizational power. You manage a team. You're a CEO. You've got a staff. You've got some employees. You have organizational power. Some people have financial power. The list can go on and on and on. What's important is that we realize power is always, your influence, your authority, your power is always going to be leveraged for doing the good or doing bad. It never just stays neutral. Some people use their power to protect their power. You've known them? To control others. Some people don't. Some people use their powers to elevate other people's power, to empower them. Some people use their powers to take advantage of those without power, so they could be top dog. Some people use their power to help bring up humanity, to lift up other people, to help the disenfranchised. We all use our power in one way. So if power is really about stewardship, and each one of us has a degree of it, how are we going to use our power? Okay, so what I want to do, I want to make sure we're all on the same page. So I want to give you some differences as we go through this whole series. What's the difference between a hero and a hero maker? So if you have your outlines, go ahead and bring them out, or you can pull it up digitally. Here's the first one. Heroes stand on platforms. They're noticed, they're recognized, they're celebrated. The spotlight is on them. Hero makers, they build platforms for others to stand on. Hero makers find ways to elevate others. They find ways to recognize, to promote other people. A hero or a hero maker. There's a lady, she's become quite popular. Her name is Shailene Flanagan. In 2017, she won the New York City Marathon, quite a feat. And a year later, she's with one of the ladies that she has mentored, Desiree Linden, and they're competing along with thousands of others in the Boston City Marathon, 2018. And Desiree, this other lady, wasn't feeling too particular good, wasn't confident about her ability to win this thing, and so she told Shailene, hey, I'm going to drop out, and I'm going to help you win. Shailene didn't say anything, kept running. A little bit later, nudged her. She had to stop and use the restroom. So Shailene goes to the restroom, and Desiree, out of great respect for another American runner and this mentor of hers, stopped. Didn't keep going on, but stopped and waited for her to use the restroom and come back out. And then they resumed the race together. And you fast forward to the end of the race, Desiree, the one who wanted to quit because she didn't think she had what it took, ended up winning the Boston City Marathon, the first woman to win it since 1985. She continually pushed forth by this mentor, by this other lady of hers. The New York Times commented on this. They said it like this: perhaps Flanagan's bigger accomplishment lies in nurturing and promoting the rising talent around her, a rare quality in the cutthroat world of elite sports. Every single one of her training partners, 11 women in total, have made it to the Olympics while training with her. An extraordinary feat. Call it the Shailene effect. You serve as a rocket booster for the careers of the women who walk or work alongside you while catapulting yourself forward. See, I love that, because that's the difference between a hero and a hero maker. A hero maker erects and builds platforms for other people to stand on. Their focus isn't just about themselves. Here's another difference between heroes and hero makers. Heroes focus on receiving awards. They're looking and striving for those personal accolades, want that recognition. Give me what's mine. So heroes focus on those personal awards, receiving awards. Hero makers focus on giving awards away. So they're looking for opportunities to add value to other people's lives. They're looking to award something that somebody has done or accomplished and to give prizes and to build others up like that. And I know that you might be thinking, God, my life is way too busy. I have no time or budget to go buy prizes and awards and cards and things like that and give them to other people. And I get that, but one of the greatest rewards that you can do for people is to really bless them, is to see something in them and call it out, to award them verbally, to speak that kind of life in them. You and I have the power to do that. We're going to either speak death, the Word of God says, or we're going to speak life. When I went to college, I was just a year and a half out of being incarcerated. And I got involved in a church. It was a huge church. The church was about 5,000-6,000 people. And this is back in the late 80s when, now they're right down the street everywhere, big mega churches. Back then, there were like a few in the country. And this was one of them. And I got involved in this church, Capital Christian Center in Sacramento. And I had no idea that churches like this even existed. It was huge, right? And I just remember just being aghast, like, whoa. And I saw that I was there for a conference before I really got involved. I was there for a conference, and I'm up in the balcony, and I'm watching what's going on. It's this production, and the speakers are incredible, and the music was just off the hook, and I'm looking at everything. And then I'm noticing this one guy. He's down front, and you gotta remember, I'm dating myself, but my gray beard does that for me anyway, so it doesn't matter. There's no laptops. There's no PowerPoint or ProPresenter or anything like that. It's this guy who is taking the lyrics of the song, and it's a transparency film, and he's putting it on the projector, and it's projecting the words up on the screen. How many remember that? Good, 2 of you. That's excellent. So he's doing that. He's just down there, and then he stands there, and he's watching, then he takes the next one, he's doing that, and I'm up there going, oh my gosh, to be him. I wasn't even thinking like speaker or singing, or I just thought, he's a part of this. That's where the bar was set for me because of my past. I was out of prison. I had tattoos before they were trendy, and I wasn't like anybody else in there. And I'm like, man, I would love to do what he's doing. He has a part in this. I got involved in the church, and their youth pastor took an interest in me. He's only a few years older, but he befriended me. And we started hanging out. And he began to notice things in me and encourage me and bless me and challenge me. He told me, he goes, I want you to share your testimony. We're going to juvenile hall, and I want you to share it. I'm like, me? Yeah, share it with them. And then he had me teaching Sunday school. And then he had me teaching on Wednesday nights. And he gave me a campus that I was over. He ended up hiring me and bringing me on staff at that church. All because he saw something in me. He awarded me verbally and with opportunities. Donnie Burleson, one of my best friends still to today. He was one of the many people who contributed to be a hero maker in my life. That's what hero makers do. They want to give awards away. That's what Donnie did. Here's what Paul said. He says, 1 Thessalonians, therefore, encourage. Everybody say encourage. Encourage and comfort one another and build up one another, just as you are doing. See, that's an example of stewarding our power, our influence, what we have, that we see ourselves as agents being able to empower and encourage and be a hero maker in somebody else's life. All right, here's another difference. Heroes ask, how can I win? So they want to know how to get to the top. They want to know how to achieve success, to get the next step up the ladder and to go. And hear me on this. There is nothing wrong with drive. There's nothing wrong with hard work ethic of going after the best you can. Really, and I'm not minimizing that. I hope you have that in your life. But it can't be all. Because at the end of the day, you think about what's more beautiful, just a single rose or an entire garden. So if at the end of our lives, our scorecard is just about what we've accomplished, what I've accomplished, it's a pretty small scorecard if it's all just been about me. Hero makers or heroes ask, how can I win? How can I get there? Hero makers, total paradigm shift, ask, how can I make you win? How can I make you win? The Apostle Paul writes it this way in the first century. He says, don't do anything only to get ahead. Don't do it because you are proud. Instead, be humble. Value others more than yourself. That's heavy. None of you should look out just for your own good. Each of you should also look out for the good of others. So let me ask you, what if the greatest accomplishments in your life were not really just about you? What if you lived your life in a different way? And you didn't make it just about you. You weren't trying to just be a pretty rose. You wanted a garden. Bob Buford, a phenomenal leader, philanthropist, great author. His books have influenced so many of us. He said so many profound things, but one of the things that he said that I so love, it so hit me, it's such a paradigm shift. When you think about success, he said, my fruit grows on other people's trees. Bam. My fruit grows on other people's trees. My success is measured by how did I cause and help others to succeed. It's not, hear me guys, it's not just a neat idea. It's a way to live our lives. It's a way it calls us to say, this is not just about me trying to achieve something. Real success is in how I have helped others become heroes. Completely what Jesus modeled for us. You see this in the life of Jesus all the time. That what is he doing? When he meets, whether it's an adulteress, a prostitute, a tax collector, a fisherman, or whatever, he's lifting them up from where they are. He's calling more out of them. You know, you are Peter. You're going to be a rock. Peter's like, I'm the one who always puts my foot in my mouth. Yeah, but I see what's coming in you. I'm going to call it out. I'm going to bring it out. One occasion, Luke 22, I think it is, he's going into a town, Jericho. And in that town is this dude, Zacchaeus, and he's a small guy. Zacchaeus is a tax collector. And so he's super not liked, right? He's very wealthy, but he's gotten wealthy being a puppet for Rome and fleecing his other Jews, lining his own pockets, getting rich, because he's a crook, really. And Jesus sees Zacchaeus. You can read the story later. Climbs up in a tree. Jesus sees him, and Jesus invites himself to go to Zacchaeus' home. And the people around who heard this are like, what's up with that? This dude is scum. How are you going to go into his home? There's a lot of decent people around here. And you invite yourself into his home. And he goes into Zacchaeus' home. And we're not told what happens in that home, at that dinner party, what's going on there. But at the end of it, Zacchaeus says this. Zacchaeus says, I will give half of my wealth to the poor. That's what I'm going to do. If I've ripped anybody off in taxes, I'm going to pay them back 4 times the amount. See, that's the effect of somebody when they spend time with Jesus. You just become a better person. That's what he wanted to do, whether it was a tax collector or anybody else. He wanted to bring them up. He was out. He didn't want to set up a throne in Jerusalem where everybody would come and worship him. He came to give his life away to bring out the best in us. And that's what we're called to do as well. So, hero makers ask the question, how can I help you? How can I be there for you? What can I do? I want to be in your corner. I want to see you succeed. How can I do this? Not, gosh darn, I wish somebody would be there for me. Of course we do. Be there for others. See if it's not sewn back into your life. All right, here's the final difference between heroes and hero makers that I want to point out. Heroes think about themselves. Hero makers, they think about the team. They think about the team. They're different. It's a different breed. Hero makers realize that the biggest impact they have is when they're pouring into the team, their community. Bill Simmons, about 10 years ago, wrote a book. It was a New York Times bestseller called The Book of Basketball. And in chapter 1, he calls it The Secret, and ultimately it's that you're going to have greater success if you think about the team as opposed to just yourself, ultimately. So he writes this, you cannot get seduced by numbers and stats. It's not about statistics and talent as much as making teammates better and putting the greatness of your team ahead of yourself. I see, that's cool. That's exactly what Jesus has called us to do. He said, look, don't, you got one life here. This is it. Then there's an eternity. This is a blinking of an eye. Don't make it just about yourself. Let's get as many people to eternity with the Father as possible. Let's help as many lives as we can while we've got this brief moment, while we've got air in our lungs to make our lives different from somebody who's making it just about me. Jesus, he spoke this all the time to his followers. He needed them to get this. One occasion, two of his disciples were brothers, James and John. And their moms do this kind of stuff. Their mom comes to Jesus and says, love you, love what you're doing. No, he didn't say that. All of this, good stuff, good, love it. Look, I understand. I know there's a heaven in the future. Here's what I'm asking. I'm asking that my boys, James and John, when they get with you in heaven, that they would have like the seat right next to you. You know, they'd be like there. They'd have that prominent position. Would you do that for them, please? And she literally asked him that, and the other disciples heard it. And they're like, what? Oh, no. Who's James? Who's John? Why should they get the seat? And they're going through this, and Jesus says, stop it. And he brings them in. We're going to read it. Matthew 20. Jesus got them together to settle things down. He said, now get this. You've observed how godless rulers throw their weight around, how quickly little power goes to their heads. Stop. We've all seen it, right? Then he says, it's not going to be that way with you. It's not going to be that way with you. Whoever wants to be great must become a servant. Whoever wants to be first among you must be your slave. That is what the Son of Man has come to do. He came to serve, not be served, and then to give away his life as an exchange for the many who are held hostage. You see, friends, at some point we got to look at Scripture, even though if you're like me and you've known the Bible all of your life, it can sometimes not hit you anymore because you know that verse, you know that passage. This is not a neat idea. This is Jesus saying, no, hear me. It's not going to be that way with you. You're not going to try to get power for you. This is not going to be about you. In fact, your best life is going to be lived in giving it to others, in serving others. You want to be first, you can be last. Your mission is going to be to how to be a hero maker for other people. I asked it earlier. What if the greatest accomplishments in your life are not about you, but was about the fruit on other people's trees? And we see it that way. And I know some of you are already living that way. You live that way. What if it's, at the end of the day, it's really not just about the work that God is wanting to do in me. I want him to do a work in me. I want to be my best friend, but really it's about what he wants to do through me to others that lasts for eternity. About 15 years ago, somewhere around there, I was climbing up that ladder in my denomination. And at this point, I was feeling pretty good. We had, the biggest church, and I was superintendent now of the churches in our state, and I was still young, and I'm thinking this is going really good. And I was not being, I wasn't feeling like I was power driven or anything like that. I was sincere, but I was though focused on what more can I achieve. Even those achievements would have been planting churches or doing this. It was still kind of, and I didn't really realize that until I'd gotten away, which I've shared this before. Customarily, I'd get away for a few days, a few times a year, just to pray and say, Lord, all right, what direction should I be headed? Am I on the right path? I need to get rid of some things. What's going on? And so I was in one of those moments, those retreats where I was praying, and like, okay, Lord, what's next? What's next? And I remember him speaking in my heart, and he was saying, Mark, it's no longer time just to pursue your destiny. It's time for you to pursue the destiny of others. You need to pivot. This is about now, and really, in essence, and it wasn't like, oh, crud, that sucks, because I had all these plans. No, it was like, oh, that's your heart. Yes. It's that Bob Buford thing of my fruit is on other people's trees. God was saying, I want to invite you, son. And he'd say the same thing to all of us. I want to invite you. I can't make you. I want to invite you into seeing that as your priority and that as your success. Could you imagine what happens if a group of people all embraced that and said, you know what? That's going to be my world. I'm going to live that way. I'm going to bring out the best in other people. So, this bottom line, you write this down. A hero maker looks for the good in others. That's just bottom line. That's what a hero maker does. He looks for the good in other people. Why? Because every human being has value. Every human being has worth. Listen. Everybody say every. Every human being reflects the greatness of God. Every human being. I have it inscripted on my arm to remind me, Imago Dei. They are image bearers, every human being. I love C.S. Lewis's works. He's probably one of the most profound people in our lifetime. But one thing that he said that is so great, he says, you have never met a mere mortal. Never met them. They don't exist. There's nobody who's just a mere mortal. There's nobody ordinary. There's nobody ordinary. God, give us eyes to see people like that. To see people like, oh, look at this. Look at what they can become. And then we move into that with them in order to try to bring it out. And listen to me. Listen, you can't do it for everybody. Jesus only had 12 that he could really invest, but he was intentional about investing in them because he knew if this is going to go across the globe, it can't be just about what I can do. And so he called out the best in them. And it's the same mission that's been given to us. But you can't do it to everybody. You might have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, I don't know, people in your life that are in your circle that you know God has brought into your life. And it's not because of what they're bringing to you. It's because he brought you into their life, what you can bring to them. They need you. They need you. They need a hero maker. And he brought you into their life. So as we turn a corner to close today, I want to give you just this sequence of letters for you to memorize. It's just 4 letters. Don't get nervous. It's letter I, C, N, and U. Go and write that down. And it just stands for I see in you. I see in you. It's a simple way to have a conversation with people. It's a simple way to bless them. It's a simple way to say something in their lives. It's I see in you compassion. I see that in you. I see in you courage. You know, people don't hear this very much in today's society. We hear what's expected, right? Even for our children, they know what's expected, or they know when they misbehave, but to say, I see in you greatness. I see in you more than just potential. I see in you generosity. I see in you leadership. To have that kind of speaking with other men, with other women in your life. And if you're here today and it's like you're not a Jesus follower, but you're kind of open to what the whole thing's all about, listen, that's how he feels about you. That God says, look, I don't know how your parents saw you or your boss or your neighborhood or your friends or whatever. He goes, but I see that compassion in your life. I see how you care. I see your thoughtfulness with other people. God sees that. I see that in you, he says. He says, I see that you really want to know me. And I really want you to know me. Let's move down that road. That's the message. That's the call. That's the challenge that we have while we have this breath. And can you just, I know you dig this with me. Like we embrace that and go, I'm going to make that my life. And there's, again, nothing wrong with it. I'm going to do my best too. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to enjoy the fruit of my labor and do that. But my success is not going to be measured by what I accomplished, but how I helped others accomplish things. Be a hero or be a hero maker. One beautiful story I just want to close with. I promise it's my last. I closed 3 times already. This is the final one. This is, I love this story. It's of Cheryl Pruitt. Cheryl grew up in a small rural town. And when she was growing up, her dad owned a little country store, a little market. And so in the summers, she would go in and help her dad in the store. And she enjoyed it. And there was one particular person who would come into that store that she really enjoyed seeing, and it was the milkman. He'd come in every week. And every time he came in, he'd come over and he'd rub her head and say, how's my little Miss America? Ah, you're so pretty. You're such a good little girl. Not in a creepy way, in a good way, okay? In a good way, just, okay? be nice in a good way. How's my, I had a niece I used to do that with. You're so beautiful. You always, and so he used to do that. And she liked it, and because every time he'd come in, he'd do that, rub her head, how's my little Miss America? And over a few years later, it kind of really began to kind of nestle in her. And then, as she grew, what was kind of a childhood fantasy, became a goal for her. Started to live inside of her. And then, 1980, she stood on the stage in Atlantic City, and she was crowned Miss America. And when she gave her speech, she not only thanked God and His grace, but she thanked that milkman who put that in her. Do you know what I'm saying? All those years earlier. I'm stoked by this story. So every day with my granddaughter, Grace, I rub her head and I say, how's my little Miss Millionaire? Right? Gonna take care of Papa and Mama someday. I'm gonna call that thing forth. Right? That's so funny. We have the power. We really do. I think there's never been a time as much as this time right now where we can call forth greatness in people and be that. And especially if I'm speaking to anybody here today where there's a deficit within you and you really feel like you need that in your life, I get that, and I hope and pray that God brings that to you. But here's a sure way of that happening is give and then you receive. Begin the process. Find somebody else to pour into and to be a hero maker in their life. And watch what happens when we do that in our lives. It's a game changer. It's a life changer. So I want to pray right now. And as we do, I want you to think of, maybe you write it down in your outline, 2 or 3 people that are in your world right now, in your orbit, that you can help catapult, that you can intentionally, not just be a nice guy. We should be a nice guy to everybody. But intentionally be after their success and to help them. Be a hero maker. So let's pray for those people and that God would use us. Father, thank you that you modeled this through your Son, Jesus. He came to serve, not be served. Lord, help us to embrace that. I know it's in our best interest, Lord, to lay down our lives, to pursue other people flourishing and blessing and helping them increase their talents and their skills and their opportunities, their network, all of it, Lord. Help us to do that, Lord. And so we pray for those people, and you might have those people in your mind. Just whisper their names right now, John or Sally or whoever that is. Lord, help me to be there for them. Give me eyes to see them. Give me ideas on how I can advance even their success, their achievements, Lord. And always remind us what your boy C.S. Lewis said, that there is no such thing as a mere mortal. Give us eyes to see humanity as valuable and treasured by you. And we thank you for it. We invite you to minister to us throughout this entire series about this. And we invite you to change our lives as a result. And we ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.